Okay guys, so today is service day. We're right at the 500-hour mark. I'm just under the 400 or 500-hour mark. I think I got about 470 something hours on it. And just want to point out a couple of things about Caterpillar and things that I've enjoyed about my experience with Caterpillar. You can see this pile of boxes I've got laying here. So this is part of the customer agreement. And I don't know all the ins and outs of it, don't claim to, but anyway, you get your filters provided. This is a breather filter for the hydraulics, and then we've also got the fuel filter, oil filter, and the gear lube. And so a lot of this stuff, I'm kind of a maintenance freak, so I don't even need these filters now. I've already changed them. I just changed them, and I didn't wait for the 500 hours. I am going to change the oil. I don't know if you guys saw the other oil change video that I did, but I changed the oil at 100 hours. You're supposed to wait for 500 hours, but I went ahead and changed it at 100 hours just to get the break-in oil out of it. That's just how I've always been, and I've already changed the drive as well. So I stay ahead of the maintenance, and I think that's one of the key things about longevity of these machines is keep the filters cleaned and keep the thing greased. I can't tell you enough to keep it greased. So anyway, before we get started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to thoroughly clean the machine, and I'll take a blower. I've kind of loosened some of this stuff up because it rained on it, so I've loosened some of this stuff up, but I'm going to blow all the dust off first. I'm going to raise the cab, and to raise the cab, you just loosen these on both sides. And so you'll loosen those, take them off, and then you'll raise the cab up, and it'll stay in the up position. And then I'll clean the insides out. This is what locks the cab in the up position. But I'll go ahead and clean the underbelly out, and I'll also get this engine bay clean. So it's pretty dusty, and I change the air filters quite frequently. I've made multiple air filter changes on this machine already in just a few hours as I have on it, and not only just changing them, but using the proper technique to keep the filters clean, because they get seriously dusty when you're working in dry environments. So we're going to get started on cleaning it, and maybe I'll bring the camera back on board and show you guys some of the things that's going on, what it looks like when I get finished up with it. But anyway, I do recommend the customer value agreement with CAT. I think it's pretty good that they supply this stuff for you and let you know when your service is due, and let you know what you need to do to keep your machine functioning at optimum conditions. Hey, here's a little tip that might help some of you guys, but lifting the cab on this thing is, when I first got it, I'd lift the cab up frequently to clean out underneath it and everything, just keep the machine clean. And I felt like that the nuts were, it was almost like they were seasoned up, but not really. But these are one of these, I'm not really sure what it's called, but I think it's kind of like a friction lock nut. And if you look there, you can see that it's almost like the threads are just kind of smashed down just a little bit on this outer ring. And so what I have done is I went ahead and I started greasing the bolt. You can see the grease in there, and sort of as an anti-seize, and that helps these nuts come off a lot easier, which encourages you to open this thing up and clean it more frequently. But and I've never had a problem with them coming loose at all, so they stay on, but they come off much easier. And then when you go to raise the cab up, one thing I'll tell you is the easiest way I found is if you grab it here and just kind of get it started, and then once you get it started, and actually I already had it started, so then I raise my bolt up. Let's try to give it a little pull here. So then I reach around, I raise my bolts up, and that gets so then they're completely out of the holes, and then you can raise it the rest of the way up. And so now it's locked into place. That was harder to do with the camera than I thought. So yeah, I've got a little gunk in here that I got to get cleaned out. It's been really dusty the last little bit, and it shows all that gets in here. So The other thing, you see that washer that I just took off is laying there. Here's the other one. I'd take these things off while you're cleaning it. And I mean, they're big, but they can fall off and roll around, and then you're kind of looking for them. So I'll just set them aside as you get everything cleaned up. And then this is part of the service video. And so this is the breather cap for the hydraulics, part of the stuff that I'm going to change today. And so that's located right here. So we'll clean all that off and change it as well. So step one's complete. I've hosed the machine off with the air hose and with the blower, and I also used a brush and a long pry bar to get back in some of the areas to kind of scrape the bigger deposits of dirt away. And you know, you might ask why I'm doing this, and the one thing I can tell you is it's just going to pay dividends in the long run. So I've transferred all the dirt from the machine to me. I'm covered in dust. I've blown myself off several times, but anyway, so I've blown it off. And when you go to change these filters and everything, you really need to have a clean machine. Otherwise, you're just going to get the dirt and debris into the machine. But you can see a lot of this dirt's already gone. And so when I pressure wash it, and you can find this in another video, I've just learned that if I go ahead and blow the machine off and get most of the dust off of it, when I go to pressure wash it, it's not as, you know, you don't have that dripping muddy water everywhere. So the engine bay already looks much better, just kind of blowing it out really well. And so now I've got most of the dust off of it, so I'm going to go ahead and pressure wash it, get everything cleaned up before I start. And I think I've mentioned this in other videos, but I don't like working in mud at all. And I can get by without working in mud. But, you know, when it's dry, people expect you to work. And I swear, working in dust is worse than working in mud. It gets into every crook and cranny on your machine. And the mud gets into the undercarriage, yeah, but, I mean, this dust gets into everything. And if you don't keep your filters clean, it gets into your motor. So I'm constantly cleaning my air filter when I'm working in dusty conditions. And I've watched guys pull their air filters out before, and their air filters have just been a quarter-inch thick and dust caked on there. And I don't understand that, but I keep mine changed or cleaned out when I'm working those conditions. But anyway, we're going to get the pressure washing, get this thing cleaned up, and then we're going to get the get it serviced for the 500-hour service. So I'm finished with the first wash. This is the first pass, and I'm getting ready to do what might be the worst part of the process. You know, I talked about blowing everything out, and a lot of it is to just try to eliminate some of this. So, and this is one of the things that I like least about this machine, is cleaning it up and getting this stuff out of the belly. I don't feel like the drains are really in the right spot, to be honest with you, to get this stuff out. And I've taken the panels off before, and it really doesn't even seem to help. But so I'm going to run the machine, take it over on a hillside, and kind of put it in different angles, trying to get some of this out. And I'll keep washing it until I get it out. But you know, and when it comes to doing this, my advice is, you know, don't be dumb about what you're doing. I mean, you're using a high pressure washer to clean this thing with. So when you're working near your motor and electrical components and just areas that are sensitive, you don't want to have the pressure washer right up next to it. You know, you just want to rinse this, get your fan good and clean to begin with, and all the coils up here in the radiator. Let all that dirt and everything drain down, and then just rinse everything off. And what I do is I go back with the air compressor. So I take compressed air and all these little fittings, you know, that are electrical connections, I go back over them and spray them out with compressed air. You've got fittings that are down here in your belly as well. And so so you've got some right there going to your def tank. A lot of electrical fittings on this side. So So all these electrical fittings you see in wires, you know, follow your wires, and where there's a connection, go ahead and take compressed air and blow that out. And make sure that you got all that good and dry. And then you want to go ahead and, you know, bring your engine up to temperature, bring the machine up to operating temperature to help some of this stuff dry out, because you don't want to leave it sitting around with moisture and all these electrical connections. But we're going to run it, try to get some of that stuff out of the belly, blow all these connections off. I don't want to be using the compressed air on here because it'll be extremely loud. So we'll blow those off, and then we'll go on to the next step. We'll wash it again until we can get this belly cleaned out. But this stinks, man. It really does. All right, guys, I'm gonna get back to work. Okay, so I'm finished cleaning. This is taking me a number of hours to do this, but this is what the engine compartment looks like. This is not wet. I applied Mudslinger to all the surfaces just to try to keep it cleaner and make it easier to clean in the future. But we've got all the dust out of here and ready to start cleaning. Take you around again. Same technique in here. Cleaned it up underneath the undercarriage, and I think it looks good. You know, it's taken a long time to get this done. I've probably spent 6 hours trying to get it all cleaned out, but I think it's worth it. Keep it clean when you go to service it. But so we'll get it put back together, oil changed, and filters changed, and we'll be ready for the next job.